I am your Godzilla of the truth in America. The president having quite the day today. He's in Brussels right now. We understand he's going to have a standalone meeting. We just got this in with Chancellor Angela Merkel of Germany at 3:15 p.m. today. That is 3:15 p.m., of course, European time, 7 hours ahead of us. And with President Emmanuel Macron of France at 4 o'clock. There'll be no coverage of either meeting. This just put out by the White House. Sarah Sanders, the president's press secretary, said she didn't want to get ahead of the agenda for either conversation, but she said she expected the president to reiterate to Merkel what she said this morning at the Spray, which is kind of the press gaggle, and we're going to wait and see what goes on with that. But right now, that is where we're at with the president's meeting with Merkel and Macron, which is going to be coming up this afternoon. And we will keep you posted with that here on the John Fredericks Radio Network, trucking the truth across America. And quite the day. We're going to start on the international scene. The president going to NATO, to the NATO summit, in a heated exchange with the NATO chief ahead of the summit. The president was fiercely critical of Germany for importing gas from Russia. Now, President Trump told NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg yesterday that Germany is, I say yesterday, it's actually today there, remember they're 7 hours ahead, that Germany is captive to Russia because it is importing energy from there in a heated exchange with the NATO chief ahead of a summit today in Brussels. The president was fiercely critical of German oil and gas imports from Russia. Let me tell you how this breaks down. And by the way, we appreciate you being with us today. Trump said it was very inappropriate, his words, very inappropriate, in quotes, for the U.S. to be paying for European defense from Russia while Germany is supporting gas deals with Moscow. Now, here's the president's view. He said they pay the Germans billions of dollars to Russia, and we have to defend them against Russia. This is what Trump told Stoltenberg at a breakfast meeting yesterday. He said, Germany, as far as I'm concerned, is captive to Russia because it's getting so much of their energy from Russia. And why am I paying for their defense? Or why are we paying for their defense? Stoltenberg conceded that there was disagreement between NATO allies over a natural gas pipeline deal between Germany and Russia, but said that the organization's strength is that despite these differences, he said, we have always been able to unite around our cause to protect and defend each other. Now, Berlin has been very supportive of building a second pipeline to transport Russian natural gas straight to Germany through the Baltic Sea, despite objections from other EU countries that the pipeline would increase the bloc's dependence on Russia's energy. Now, the U.S. has previously warned it could impose sanctions if the project goes ahead. Trump is going to meet Chancellor Angela Merkel today at 3:15 EU time as these leaders meet. Now, the 29-member military alliance's annual meetings have traditionally been kind of like, they go by the book, right? But the expectations this year different. Thanks in large to President Trump and some of the comments he's made. And Trump has been openly critical, as you know, of many NATO's practices, often railing against Washington spending more money on defense than other member states. And that criticism warranted. Germany's only paying about 1%. They're supposed to pay 2%. So the bottom line here is this. The Germans have a right to import their energy from wherever they please. And I'm in favor of pipelines. And if the German government decides in Berlin that they are better served, their energy needs are served by a second gas pipeline going from Russia to Berlin, a natural gas pipeline, and they cut that deal with Russia, that's their business. I mean, as far as us putting sanctions on anybody is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, this is where we get in trouble, where we start intervening in other countries' affairs. It's different. It's one thing to say, look, we have an agreement. We all shook hands. You're supposed to pay 2% of your gross domestic product into your own defense. You're paying 1%. I'm not picking up the bill. And what Trump is saying is, look, it is absolutely illogical for us to be funding your defense against Russia when you're giving Russia money for natural gas and building a pipeline. That doesn't make any sense. Take the money and defend yourself. That's legitimate for Trump. That's legitimate for the U.S. to make that assertion, in my judgment. You pay your fair share. We're getting our troops out of there. Why we have 30,000 troops in Germany is beyond me. No one can answer me that question. What, are they afraid of an invasion by who? Greece? And the whole thing is ridiculous. We need to get those troops out of there, get our kids home, get rid of those bases, and let them deal with it. And if the Germans have enough money to pay the Russians in order to do pipelines and buy their natural gas, then so be it. But that has nothing to do with us. Either way, it's Germany's deal. Let them import all the natural gas from Russia they want, and let us get out of Germany, get our troops out of there, and let them pay their fair share, which is 2% of their GDP, into their own defense. And we shouldn't be subsidizing it because, again, I want you to grasp what Trump said. Why am I funding your national defense? Because you're underfunding it by 1% of your GDP, which is billions of dollars. So I'm funding your national defense, and you're taking that money and you're buying gas from Russia, giving them hard cash, which is the country that I'm supposed to spend money defending you against. How does that make any sense? Answer, it doesn't. You know it doesn't. I know it doesn't. It makes no sense whatsoever. So that's basically what the president's saying here. Now, this meeting in Brussels today is the meeting of the 29-member military alliance's annual meetings. Now, you know, we've covered these before with Obama, Clinton, George Bush 1, George Bush 2, whatever. Nobody cares, right? You go through the motions, they have champagne, they clink glasses, and, you know, we continue to get screwed. Not this time. This president is putting you first. And we're getting out of these deals, or we're changing them because they're not to our benefit. Now, I'm going to get into trade in a minute. Now, the president has been openly critical of NATO's practices. Here's what he's saying. You know, he sent a tweet out about the funding of NATO. This is a recurring theme of his criticism. And many countries in NATO, which we are expected to defend if something happens, are not only short of their current agreement commitment of 2%, which, by the way, is very low, but are also delinquent for many years and payments have not been made. Are they going to reimburse anybody? So not only have most of these countries been under the 2%, some of them have made zero. Zero they paid. On Tuesday, NATO said that 7 out of 27 European members were on track to meet the 2% spending target. Britain, Greece, Latvia, Estonia, Poland, Lithuania, and Romania. Let me read these to you again. Britain, Greece, Latvia, Estonia, Poland, Lithuania, and Romania. 7 to 27 countries. 7 of 20. That means 20 of the 27 countries didn't do crap as far as meeting the commitment that they made. Yes, it's not a legal document. Yes, you can't enforce it, but if you have a handshake, you have a handshake. I mean, this is supposed to be our ally. Look, people say, well, look at the way the president's treating our allies. Well, with allies like these, who needs enemies? Now, NATO members are going to be told today by the president of the United States that their spending is not sufficient and they're not owning up to their end of the deal. Now, ahead of the meeting, European Council President Donald Tusk took Trump to task for, he said, criticizing Europe almost daily. Well, I think he should do it twice a day. Look, we bailed these people out twice. I mean, the fact that, all this hugging and kissing with France. Let's see. Let's get to these 7 countries again. Britain, Greece, Latvia, Estonia, Poland, Lithuania, and Romania. Where's France? If it hadn't been for us, you wouldn't have a France. They'd all be speaking German. Like, where's their 2%? Macron comes in, hugs and kisses, high fives. Where's your 2%, dude? Pony up. Talk is cheap. Hugs are cheap. I want money. And Tusk went on to say in a tweet, "Dear President Trump, America does not have and will not have a better ally than Europe. Today, Europeans spend on defense many times more than Russia and as much as China. Dear America, appreciate your allies. Dear European Union, pay up or shut up." NATO's presence in Eastern Europe, Eastern European countries, they're looking forward to this summit. They want to increase the number of troops stationed in their countries as a show of strength toward Russia. Great. European troops, not ours. When are we going to get out of this thing where we have to put troops all over the globe? You want to show that you've got troops in Eastern Europe because you're not comfortable with the number of Russian military apparatus on your or near your border? Go to Europe, go to France, go to Italy, get troops. Why should we be sending our troops there? I mean, why? Can anybody answer me on the radio today this question? I don't care where you are in America. Like, why is it our troops that have to go to Eastern Europe? Why doesn't Eastern European troops go to Eastern Europe? Or European troops? Or German troops? Or Italian troops? Or French troops? Or UK troops? Or Belgian troops? Why U.S. troops? I want out. Here's what Poland said. Since we joined NATO, we felt like a second-grade member of the alliance because we could not have permanent or even temporary NATO bases here. This was former Polish ambassador to Afghanistan. Now, the Polish Defense Ministry has proposed setting up a joint armored division that would have 15,000 U.S. troops and a total of 250 tanks and armored vehicles. Why would we put 15,000 U.S. troops in Poland? You know, here's the problem. Once they're there, you'll never get rid of them, and you'll be paying for that forever. And then the military-industrial complex, once they have a new source of what to spend money on, they'll be clamoring for perpetuity, and they'll say, well, 15,000 isn't enough. We need 50, 30, 40,000, right? 250 tanks. Oh, that can't do it. We need 750 tanks. And we need half-tracks and Hummers and machine guns and this and that and forts and supplies, and they get bigger. Let the Poles put their 15,000 troops there. I mean, the Russians are not going to invade Warsaw. I mean, let's stop. This is such nonsense. The good thing is we finally have a president that's questioning all this crap. Other NATO countries are expanding their presence in Eastern Europe, with Canada announcing it would extend its military presence in Latvia for another 4 years. Great. Canada, hey, man-child Trudeau, good idea. Let's get your armies there. What about Australia, Mexico? I don't know, Guatemala, Barbados. Like, put troops there. I don't want any American troops there. There's a whole world. They've all got troops. Let them put them there. I don't see Australia putting anybody there. How about New Zealand? Turn this over to the man-child, Trudeau. Let him figure it out. I want to get out of these countries, get our troops home, and build bridges, not make tanks for Poland. John Fredericks Radio Network.